Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's video. We're doing CANSIPS Sunday today. Going to have a quick look at the CANSIPS model from the website tropicaltidbits.com for the next 6 months. So we'll have a look at the sea level pressure anomalies first, and then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those sea level pressure anomalies as well. It's just for fun, remember, we're taking one model in isolation and going 6 months ahead with it, which you shouldn't really do. You should get several models together and try and form a consensus view. So the charts are there, we might as well use them, but it's by no means to be relied upon, as I always have to explain with this update and with the CFS 6 months look ahead that we do in later on in the month as well. Always have to explain that these updates are just for fun, and it's a case that the charts are there, so okay, we'll use them, but don't rely upon what you are seeing. So we'll go ahead 6 months, which takes us from February through to July in a second. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads at Gasworth, it says links to articles on all of the page, so have a browse through widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. And thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages, and they open up with content when you watch them, they'll close back up again, and that is helping to pay for our website. So thanks so much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. Right, let's start off with the sea level pressure anomalies for the coming 6 months. We're going to start off in February. So this is how February is looking across the world. Of course, we're specifically interested in this part of the world, and also up here as well, which is the Atlantic and the UK and the European section. So what we see for February is that we've got some above average heights up to the north. There's some sort of ridging here around Iceland and going towards Greenland as well. Trough of low pressure down to the south. I think we're bringing the jet stream on a southerly track here, perhaps going a bit like that. This blocking could be more intense, and if it was, it would lock us into a colder pattern. But nevertheless, this is quite significantly different compared to what's gone on in the winter so far. So this does imply that we could have some colder conditions, I think, as we get through into February. We will have a look at the temperatures that go with that in a moment, but I think that could be suggesting something a little bit colder for the end of the winter. We get through into March. This is how March is looking, and the blocking intensifies up to the north. The red colours, as you know with these charts, red normally extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. So we've definitely got an intensification of the red colours here to the north. Looks like the jet stream is on a southerly track as well, so you would look at that and assume that is probably quite a cold looking chart. Certainly a fair amount of blocking sitting up to the north of the country. April looks like this, and we're extending the ridge down into the northern Atlantic then. So it looks like the blocking in terms of the northern latitudes is easing off, but we have got ridging through the central Atlantic, and I think there's a trough within the 500 millibar flow actually here. So although it doesn't look like much, that could be a little bit colder really for April as well. The jet stream could be doing something a little bit like that. As I say, I'll have a look at the temperatures that go with this in a second, but I think February, March, April could all be implying some colder conditions. We move through into May, and that's just has an area of low pressure around the country, so quite a simple one with this. The jet stream going a bit like that. It's a flat jet stream. Could be quite an unsettled month in May, but probably not as cold, because I don't think we're digging the jet stream to the south. In fact, the jet stream has actually gone a bit further north, so probably not cold for May or cool, but probably quite unsettled. Excuse me. And then we're going through into June, of course 5 months away, so really is in the realm of being just for fun and not to be relied upon. The colours are very weak for June, so it's hard to make much out, but I think there probably is some sort of trough again within the 500 millibar flow. Remember, these are sea level pressure anomalies, but if we're looking at this in terms of the 500 millibar flow, I think we'd probably be seeing something a bit like that with the jet stream. So although it doesn't look like much, that could actually be quite a cool and unsettled month as we get through into June. And then July, not looking great either. It's fortunately 6 months away, so we're right at the very end of the reliability. Although we could go further on with this and actually go to December 2016, but I'm going to stop at July because I think 6 months is far enough to go. If you want to check out the rest of the updates, go to the links page and then click CANSIPS. It will take you to tropicaltidbits.com, the website we're using. Thanks very much to Tropical Tidbits for letting us use their website. It'll take then, you can see the rest of the update: August, September, October, November, December, by doing that. But I'm going to stop at 6 months ahead, which is July. It is an unsettled looking signal for July as well. I think we're bringing the jet stream more or less through the country, so probably quite a cool and unsettled month in July if it came off like that. Fortunately, it's 6 months away. Right, let's have a look at the temperature, see how they stack up for the next 6 months. So February, remember we said February probably implying something a little bit colder, and the temperature anomaly for February does back that up a little bit. It is actually going a little bit colder for Scotland. Elsewhere it's near normal, so nothing particularly dramatic going on really, but it is significantly cooler than certainly what we had in December and how January has started off as well. I'm doing a video on the 3rd of January, of course. So it does look as though we've got a little bit of a cooler end to the winter coming up here. Incidentally, notice very cold end to winter for much of southern and eastern America, and also much of northern, central, eastern Europe coming out with quite a cold month in February as well. Excuse me. We go through into March. Now, March I thought could be a cooler month as well. Actually, the anomalies in March are coming out near normal to a little bit above average. Most of Europe looking significantly colder than average, though. So it wouldn't take too much of the adjustment, too much of a change in the pattern to start to tap into those colder anomalies that are in there across many northern, central and eastern parts of Europe. I do think the suggestion here is for something a bit colder at the end of the winter and into the start of spring. Nothing all that dramatic, but probably cooler than we've had through the first part of the winter. April as well, I thought that could be a bit cooler, and indeed the model is going for a cooler than average month in April. In fact, in terms of the anomalies out of the 3, February, March, April does look the coolest. Again, most of Europe looking very cool as well, so quite a prolonged cool spell setting up here for much of Europe. Not as dramatic for us, but by April we are tapping in to those cooler than average temperature anomalies. Go through to May, and I thought jet stream going back north in May, so it should be a warmer month, and that is what the model is implying. The temperature anomaly is going above average as we get through into May. But remember, I thought it probably going to be quite unsettled, so I'll have a look at that in a second. And then June, not great. I think there's some sort of trough in the 500 millibar flow in June, so the temperature anomaly is coming out cooler than average, a cool start to the summer. And then finally, 6 months ahead, so don't be too worried about it, but July also coming out cooler than average. That would be a very, very poor start to the summer. Again, notice how cool it is across most of Europe and even into the west of Russia. So quite a prolonged cool spell. Actually, despite this very mild start to the year, looks like the year from February through to June and July shaping up to be really quite cool for many parts of Europe. At times, we are cool as well, but not as consistently as further east and north in Europe. Finally, we have a look at the temperature anomalies, precipitation anomalies that go with this. So for February, we've got drier than average precipitation anomalies out to the north and the west of the country. So that implies ridging out to the north and west with low pressure, probably on a southerly track, doing something like that. So the actual precipitation anomalies for the UK coming out close to average, a bit drier for Scotland and Northern Ireland, near normal elsewhere. But I think it is a drier, cooler trend, reading between the lines. And sometimes you have to read between the lines with these models. They don't always sort of lay everything out very nicely for you. So sometimes read between the lines, as we have to do. I think we're probably looking at a cooler, drier month as we go through to February. March looks near normal with the precipitation as well, but it's a bit drier than average to the north and a bit wetter than average down to the south of the country. Moving through into April, that's a cool month, remember, in April, and the precipitation is coming out near normal, maybe hinting at being a bit drier than average in April. So I thought there'd probably be some sort of trough in the 500 millibar flow in April, producing quite a cool, wet month. Actually, the precipitation doesn't look too bad, but it is quite a cool month. Jet stream comes back north and warms us up as we go through into May, but it is a more unsettled signal as well. So May coming out with slightly above average rainfall anomalies. We get through into June, and remember 5 months away now, but June looking near normal with the rainfall. And then July, again, it looks near normal, but if you read between the lines, the temperatures aren't great, the sea level pressure look pretty low, so that could be, I think, more on the unsettled side of things, certainly. It does imply above average precipitation to the north and the west of the country a little bit. Not a strong signal, but reading between the lines here, I do think it's going for a pretty poor start to the summer, and generally cool and quite unsettled as we get through into June and July. That is 6 months away, of course, and as I always say, 5-6 months away is not to be relied on. I can't overemphasize that enough. Shall we have a look at El Nino before we go, see how the CANSIPS model is predicting that to develop over the next few months? Well, let's go back to February then, and then we will click thermodynamics and have a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. I didn't know I was going to do this, but I thought I'd just throw it in right at the end. So this is how February's sea level pressure anomalies are looking, sea surface temperature anomalies, I should say, are looking. So the Atlantic over here, of course, with the cold blob still there in the northern Atlantic. This is El Nino just here. Very strong and mature El Nino by February. Let's quickly run through and see whether the model is predicting this El Nino to switch to La Nina, and well, a massive weakening takes place by March into April. You see that the El Nino is just dying, really. It's rapidly diminishing. The colours have gone from vibrant red to sort of paler yellow colours. Look at this, we get through to May, and a little bit of blue is beginning to appear. That is cooler or colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies beginning to appear in the central part of the equatorial Pacific. Let's run on, go through to June. That's definitely La Nina beginning to develop, and that strengthens as we get through into July. That is a very, very rapid switch from El Nino to La Nina, to a cold event that the CANSIPS model is going for. It's central based as well with the La Nina. The temperature scale is on the side, and we're talking about already by July we're going down to sort of 1.5 degrees colder than average in the central part of the equatorial Pacific. That's a huge change, going from something like 3 degrees above average in February to around 1.5 degrees below average in July. And I can just run on and show that this just intensifies then as we go through into the autumn. We get a very intense cold event setting up through the second half of the year. That is a real La Nina setting in there. So, as I've been saying in the El Nino updates, we've probably got to start thinking a little bit about La Nina for this year. And what I want to do next week on Sunday is have a look at La Nina, and specifically have a look at years that transition from El Nino to La Nina, and see what some of the implications for that can be, particularly in terms of the summer of 2016. Try and think a little bit about the summer. So I'll do it in a video next Sunday, and we'll try to have a look at what happens when we go out of an El Nino into a La Nina, because I think that's probably going to be the way we're going to trend with this year in terms of the setup in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean. So that'll be next Sunday. Coming back to CANSIPS though, for the next 6 months, it's looking like a cooler end to the winter. February does hold out prospect maybe of a little bit of cooler weather compared to what we've been used to. I wouldn't be running away with the idea that it's severe cold, probably isn't, but a little bit cooler for February. And then the spring and even into the early summer looking pretty mixed, fairly cool as well. So not great really in terms of this update, but that's how it's looking this month. We'll do CANSIPS Sunday again next month, see what the model is suggesting then. Well, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.